Have you been watching the Tour de France? Is that why you're speaking French to me?
No, I never watched the Tour de France.
You hate cyclists.
No, Justin, no. I'm ever so courteous to cyclists when I see them on the coast road, riding 3 abreast, doing 15 miles an hour, looking like some sort of pudgy Power Ranger. Yeah, I love them. They're my people.
All right. Very good. Very good. I reckon you would be number one suspect in those missing cyclists if it ever came up again now after you saying that. There you go. Here, listen, Mark Kerr isn't first tonight.
Yeah, well, Mark.
No, he isn't first. Michael Matthews is first because Mark Kerr is probably off in Australia. Oh, he's third tonight. Oh, Julie made second. We're like the Tour de France. We're like the Olympics. You bronze, silver, and gold if you get in first. I know. I love it. I love it.
I tell you what, Michael Matthews is very quick.
He was very quick tonight.
Michael was very quick last night as well because he messaged me to see why he couldn't get logged on. And I said,
he got the wrong night. He got the wrong night. Mark Kerr hangs his head in shame tonight. There you go. That's what I like to hear.
But it's Mark got all them injections. You see, so his broadband and all his computer stuff will be working. Working 100%.
I must admit, I wish I'd got one because then it would be twice as good in my house because it keeps on jumping up and down the hill tonight. We're up to 3 bar. We're down at 2. Who knows where we are? Patrick Mulkey said hello.
Hi guys, how are we?
Yeah, Keith McCann's quick draw McGraw. Actually, you're number 6 tonight, Keith, or number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not everybody always says hello. Some people are shy because they're worried about what I'll say to them if their name comes up on screen. You see,
I totally understand where they're coming from. I assure you, I know where they're coming from.
Yeah, I'll tell you better than that. I didn't press the button to put Patrick Mulkey's good evening up on screen, but it went up anyway. So there you go. So they're controlling the other end. maybe it does it automatically if I don't click on it.
Zuckerberg's overriding us already.
Oh, I don't know. It's a packed show this week. We've got a local star coming on. We will reveal who he is because it says it in the thing. It's Short Cross Whiskey.
Yes.
Now, and if it's anything to go by the gen, it'll be fantastic.
Well, he's coming up after we do our news feature. Then we've got a really good interview with a guy who's running a really good auction over in the US. And then it's Short Cross Whiskey. We'll be joined by David. And the Lord of Gin is his title on Twitter. So he's going to have to change that. Lord of Gin / Whiskey.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that somehow. But anyway, it's one of those things. Some things in the internet you can change, other things you can't. So we've said hello to you.
I know there's certain things you can change on the internet just to make things look bigger or slimmer depending on what
I know. Somebody thinks I've got the sun today, but it's just the light color. And you say I can change the light color, and he'll change the light color. And while we're here, I can look like a Smurf if I hit this. You see? There you go. I really look like I've got the sun today on that one. And then when I hit that one, I don't look too bad in that one. What one looks better? That one?
You say you don't look too bad.
This one?
Did you turn it off?
Or that one? I don't know which one looks better. No idea. Think that first one looks better. Well, turn it around a bit because I'm shining in my forehead. So I'll turn it down. There you go. How does that look? That looks a bit better. I should put talcum powder in my head to stop the shine, but people would laugh.
Or
there you go. Mark's ready to dance to the music. Okay,
aren't we all?
So we'll put it on. For some reason, they seem to think that we don't own the copyright to this. I don't know why, because it's a public domain one. But we will hit the music and let you enjoy this. What do you say? Here we go. It's good, isn't it? It is good.
Awesome.
It is good.
Awesome.
Yeah, James from Moira Doherty, he had the baton ready. He's getting ready for the 12th, going to throw it in the air and all the rest of it. And what's Frank Hearn saying? Even watching with a wee Father's Day silky in my glass. Oh, James will be pleased to know that. There
Look what came this week. Look what came this week, just whenever we're talking about silky and our James there. Look. Cask strength. strength silky, Justin. Cask strength silky. Now,
Right.
it's a bit of a strange one because he issued a little warning. So we're giving out a product warning. He said there's a problem. There's been notified of a problem with some of the glue on the bottom of the tube. So if you pick it up and it might fall out. So I always hold a tube like this anyway, just on the off chance.
Yes.
But, I've noticed another little problem, James. Here's another problem, James. On the bottle, the stated ABV is 64.3%. Right, good stuff. On the tube, it's 46% there. Now, can we see that?
Very bad picture quality tonight, but yes,
Well,
okay, yeah.
It's 46% ABV. James, he thinks there's something not quite right there. But yeah, so got this week. I have a bottle of it. I'll open it at some point later on the week. But he sent out a little warning to say that they've been alerted there's a wee problem with the bottom of the tubes. Never left the tube up like that anyway. Always hold the bottom. Because you pay a lot of money for these things, you don't want them falling out. So, handy hint, but get in touch with him if you've got something.
Good point. It's never happened to me. I always have the opposite problem trying to get the tube out because I've got no fingernails.
Aye, but
there you go. We have been told, there you go, only one face has to be correct. The black label is correct.
There we go. So don't go by the front, go by the back.
Good. There you go. That's all right. Yep. That's all right. Don't use that with buses because you might get on the wrong bus.
No, but I'll get that opened. I might even open it tonight if we go that far. But yeah, now this week in the news. Now the big news this week really sort of done the rounds, and it was a bit of the rounds, is LINDORES Abbey, which is near Newburgh Fife, and it's about to release its first whiskey, so they claim, in 527 years. Well, it's kind of taken a bit of license, to be honest. Now, anyone who doesn't know, the first recorded mention of distilling in Scotland is when the Exchequer takes 8 bowls of malt from Friar John Core. Okay, that's back in 1494. And a few years ago, the distillery was opened by the Mackenzie family, who bought 3 4-size stills. And now the fruits of their labour, if you like, are coming to fruition. And it's going to be LINDORES MCDXCAV, okay, which is 1494 in Roman numerals. Now it's going to be limited to 12,750 bottles. It's a single malt, and it states that it's going to be aged. It's been aged in bourbon, wine, and sherry casks. Now it's not released yet. It's not coming out until the 2nd of July. But this has been a big thing because really, that piece of parchment you see in that document, they talk about that being sort of the founding or the first recognition of distilling in Scotland, which is obviously now a massive, massive industry.
Is that older than Ireland then, that document then? Well,
you see, not really, because there's records of distilling in Ireland prior to that. So this is really, it's always taken as being the first. I'm sure if you look through other areas, there's other stuff, and it talks about aquavitae. It doesn't talk about whiskey, but this is always sort of seen as the birth of the Scotch whiskey industry, if you like. Now LINDORES do a 1494 club, which the membership still seems to be available. I was able to put it in a basket earlier on today just to check. And it's £500 to be a member of that. It gets you a whole list of benefits, not least a very first distillery bottling, which is limited. It's only 1494 bottles of it. You get a bottle of that first release that's coming out. You get a bottle of their aquavitae, all that kind of stuff. Tours are available on the website. Now, the distillery itself is actually just across the road from the old abbey. And a few years ago, they did renovations and actually found an old still, or the remnants of an old still in the ruins of the abbey.
Is that what these people are looking in this hole for?
That's the archaeologists looking in the hole of where they found equipment belonging to a still. So yeah, it's kind of taken as
there's a lot of provenance there then, because that looks legit. You can't fake that or write that on the side of the bus and it looks like the age of it.
Well, the thing is, it is seen as being sort of the spiritual start of the whole Scottish whisky industry. So it's nice to see it kind of done the rounds around the news tonight, and or last all week really, and it's kind of you couldn't really not mention it,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Important stuff, What's it going to taste like, Bob Marty? That's the proof of the pudd's in the eating, isn't it?
Well, this is it. We'll just have to wait and see, Justin. And but again, it's I talk about the Lazarus brands over here, these new reincarnations of old distilleries. Well, there's happening in Scotland as well. We got on them. All the best to them.
Where are we heading next tonight then?
We're heading down Cork direction, Justin. We're heading down towards Middleton, where 2 new stills have arrived. 75,000 litre stills. 2 behemoths of things.
Are they the biggest in the world?
Probably not just at the minute, but they're the biggest in the world that used to be used. Were twice that size because it sits outside the Middleton distillery because they had it before. The one that they had, the largest ever pot still, to the best of our knowledge, I can't see it being any bigger, was used at Middleton, and it was 143,872 litre still. So just almost twice the size of that thing. These two stills have been brought in now. They're 8 tons each. These, again, built at Forsyth over in Scotland, and they're brought in to replace the 2 50-year-old ones. Almost 50 years old. They were installed in 1974. So they're the same age as me, and there's probably almost as much alcohol as went through the ones in Middleton as went through myself. So yeah, they're saying that they're going to be replaced in August. Up and running.
So they're going in like less than a month. Just over a month. They're going to have them up and running. I mean, it was no mean feat getting them through the streets, wasn't it?
No, I mean these are massive stills. I'm sure they're probably bigger. They're probably a few bigger stills in Scotland, but I'm not 100% sure where. These are huge, huge things.
And they didn't manage to ding them in the way in either.
Yes, they didn't manage to ding them and have to send them all the way back again.
Do you know the way? Do you know the way you have bottle envy? And later on in the show, well, James Doherty has he still has envy. Yeah.
No, as I say, the biggest stills ever used were at Middleton, and they're twice that size again. Just huge, absolutely massive.
What does that tell you about Irish whiskey? It is poised to overtake Scottish whiskey in the next 10 years, isn't it?
We'll get to that in a wee bit later on, Justin. We'll get to that just a little bit later.
Okay, there we go. Lovely stuff. Yeah, those are fantastic footage there of it moving about.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see it beside the house, it gives you a bit of the scale of the thing. Yeah, but whenever you see it from above, you'll get an idea about the sort of logistics of getting this in place. Because we've lifted some great footage there from the Whiskey Drama, and also another Twitter account as well has great footage posted from above. But Marty, do they not need run in? Do stills not need run in, or are they ready to go instantly once they start producing? I mean, will they start in August and then 3 years from that they're good to go, or will they run them up to speed for a month or two?
No. What they'll probably do is they'll run probably just a couple of runs through it just to take any dirt or oils or stuff off it, and then after that, pretty much they're good to go. It's only 3 years they're aged in the barrel. These will be up and running. Irish whiskey's massive, Justin. These things need to be going very quick. But it'll simply be a case of, it'll be a case of pulling one out and setting the other one in.
What kind of money do you think was in them? Because the copper themselves would be worth worth taking to the scrappers, wouldn't it?
See a ton of copper. I don't know what price copper is. And I would say it's still going to be worth even the scrap. But it's not the cost of the copper, Justin. Even to get Forsyth to do anything these days, I think there's a 2.5, 3 years waiting list.
Actually, Mark Kerr's asked a very good question. Why did the old ones need to be replaced?
They just wear out. What happens is, one of the things, the refluxing inside the stills, it's what takes away a lot of the impurities, and over a period of time, it's just the same as everything else. You keep boiling your kettle over and over and over again, and things start to wear down, and that's it. And I mean, they've got best part of 50 years out of their last lot, which I'm sure is probably very good.
Yeah, that's good going. Didn't know that would wear down. Obviously, when you think about it, the action of water all the time and things, and the heat and all the rest of it.
Heat, water, even just. I mean, we're still not 100% sure of the chemical reaction that copper imparts onto the spirit. So, any sort of effect over a period of time, it just wears away.
So it's still a little bit of a mystery there.
Yeah. I think everybody knows that there hasn't been anywhere near the same amount of research being done on distilling as really could have been and should have been. I think we're going to start seeing an awful lot more stuff, and we're starting to see an awful lot more with all the research on whiskey histories, whiskey mash bills, but all the chemistry of it as well. You're starting to see more and more of that too. So, yeah.
Well, it's good to know, but it's great for the industry as well. So, what's the next news item this week?
I thought this is a bit interesting. You'll like this in some ways. According to research by the IWSR, which is basically drinks analysis, they monitor markets and stuff. Alcohol consumption in the US increased by 2% last year, which is the largest increase since 2002. Now, apparently the increase is being driven by, as they put it, flavour.
Cocktails.
Flavoured, well, those hard seltzers, as they talk about, Corona. I picked Corona because, well, no, why not? These things are flying off the shelves, okay? And one of the categories that's one of the fastest growing in the US, which, let's be honest, kind of leads the way in a lot of this, is flavoured whiskies. Okay, so peach, Jim Beam. Where did I put that other stuff? I've got this Guff, Orange Hague. We're not talking about, but
did that footballer advertise the Hague Club? I think he did, didn't he?
He owns a part of it. But one of the big ones. I've read about this and eventually got my hands on a bottle of this.
Wow,
Crown Royal. Beach.
Oh, you lucky boy.
Yeah, this apparently is absolutely flying off the shelves. You can't keep it in the shelf. Now, Justin, I'm really going to annoy you here because I've got to make myself a wee cocktail because we've tried this. It's really, really, really sweet, but it is very peachy. But I think if you had a wee touch of lemonade in it, it would be probably a bit more palatable. Now, this sort of goes against everything I normally say, but you really sort of have to try these things.
Okay.
I'll give you a wee verdict on it.
Okay. So this is Crown Royal, Sprite. Yeah. Crown
Royal and Sprite. I don't know proportions of that stuff. Now that's 35% alcohol, so it's quite strong. Yeah. It's all right. You'd like it more than me. But that's all right, yeah. You can drink that on a nice hot day.
Yeah, there's Julie saying the Crown Royal Peach is very, very, very good. And Tony Sillett gives us, he must be a scrap merchant. He says 2016 is 2,600 a ton, and it's currently 4,550 per ton for copper. So, whoa.
So 9,000 for 2 times 4 be Justin, we'll get that. When can we go eat Cork with a low loader? We go eat Cork with a low loader. See what
Keith McCann is asking a very good question. Why would anyone drink that?
Drink
the peach stuff. It's supposed to be all the rage, isn't it?
I tell you, go on and read about this stuff. They can't keep it on the shelves. That has increased in sales. The biggest sector is the ready-to-drink stuff. At the minute, drink cocktails has grown by 62.3%. Hard seltzers has grown by 130%, and is set to become the second biggest drinks market in the US, overtaking wine. Now, here's the bit that sort of whiskey related a bit more. Flavoured vodkas, beers, whiskies are flying off the shelves, so all this kind of stuff. Whiskey volumes grew by 4.9% in the US, but was led by domestic American brands and Japanese and surprisingly Indian. The sales of those have jumped up considerably.
Okay.
Now, the tariff hit Scotch dropped by 6.1%, so hopefully that'll recover quite quickly. Irish fell by 0.5%. Now, that's likely because of on-site sales, so bars and clubs and stuff being closed. But whiskey's still behind vodka, but it looks as if it could overtake next year.
Cider started all this a few years ago, didn't it, with the flavoured ciders, didn't it?
No, it's this kind of stuff. Do you remember alcohol pops and all that stuff? Where it was all, like alcoholic lemonade and things. This is probably the embryo of this, but it's starting to get a huge amount of traction. But these flavoured whiskies, as I say, this isn't great, if I'm honest. But it's like £13 a bottle, £14 a bottle. I mean, a lot of people.
Is it making the product go further and product sort of expanding the range as well?
It's probably a mixture of a whole lot of things. People just wanting nice, easy drinking stuff. But I tell you, anybody wants to read about this stuff, it's apparently people drive for miles and miles to pick up a bottle of it. It's actually not bad. But as I say, very sweet. A little bit of lemonade on it. It sort of toned down the sort of viscous sweetness to it, and it's actually all right.
There's Michael Massey saying, "Sure, weren't the Indians there before anyone?" I don't think he means that Indians.
That's yeah, it's the likes of Amrit and that kind of ones. Here's another thing too: no and low alcohol beer jumped up by 23.6%. So they must be getting a lot better. I don't think
they are. I do drink them, but it's the carbs and the calories people go for. But Michelob and Satzenbrow were always low on the carbs and the calories as well. You know, I once did a product launch. They were sponsoring a triathlon at Loch Ness, and I got a case of Michelob, and it was delicious. But
do you remember that? What was that? No alcohol beer. What was it? Caliber. Yeah, it was lackluster. It was. Well, it's like decaffeinated coffee. It's just not very good. Not very nice at all.
Fizzy foam, but we've got good news about distillery expansion in Scotland still to come tonight.
Well, you see, this is you saying Irish could overtake Scottish. There's big demand for Scottish stuff. There's 4 news this week that 4 new Scottish distilleries have been announced. Some of them have a bit more progress to them than others. You have Jackson Distillery, which is down on the borders. £45 million investment here. They reckon 200 million litres of pure alcohol per annum. We have the Moffat Distillery, Dark Sky Spirits. They've started building. Wolf Craig and Stirling, £15 million investment. Ardgowan, 8.4 million in Inverkip near Greenock. Now, as we know, Greenock is, well, when Nicola decides to let them dock,
the cruise ships,
it's not far from the cruise ships.
And that'll be a winner because a lot of people don't like travelling far on the coach before they do the tour. They like to step off the ship and the whole of it to be there in front of them.
Everything, as we know, lots and lots of people, not to cast aspersions on the good people of the US of A, but lots of them want the stuff there and instantly. That's the way they've been conditioned.
I've got an idea. Build sort of a miniature of Ireland just down the docks in Belfast.
A miniature of Ireland.
Like build a big mound and call it Slemish. Build a fake church and call it St Patrick's Cathedral. Build. Get a few hexagon-shaped stones and make it the Giant's Causeway.
Do you know in China? Do you know the terracotta warriors? Right?
Yeah.
Do you know that this is true? Right, where the terracotta warriors is, obviously it's packed all the time when people come to see them. Mm-hmm. Just down the road, they've built a totally fake. Mm-hmm. Terracotta warriors, and loads and loads of people end up going there thinking they've been to the real thing, because the people don't actually tell them that it's not real. They've got fake archaeologists in digging away and all, and people are convinced it's the real one. So they've basically got an identical one just to cope with the numbers of them. That's true. That's genuine.
I've seen the terracotta warriors. They looked awfully good at the British Museum. Actually, the former Chancellor is now the head of the British Museum. Did you see that? There you go. So,
British Museum started with a collection of Hans Sloane from Kilkeel.
There you go.
Man who invented milk chocolate as well.
That's
Sloane
right.
Square in London.
One of my favourite people.
Yeah, he wasn't a particularly pleasant guy, to be honest, but no, there you go.
Now, we've got one more story before we hit the short cross whiskey.
We do. We sort of talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's the Skinner's Auction House. No, not that one. That's not the one we're looking for, Justin. The old Ingledew, sorry.
Yep.
And this whiskey, loads and loads of provenance, possibly the oldest whiskey still in existence in liquid form. So play the interview.
Marty, this guy's collection looks more impressive than yours.
I know. This is what you call bottle envy, Justin. You know, it's a thing whiskey collectors get.
That's just display. The table in front of me is probably about 70 bottles on it, and there's another to the side over here, another 60 or 80 bottles on it. Just some of the open stuff.
Yeah, it's always nice to have your collection.
We're talking about some of the other stuff, and we do have a bottle of Burke's in the 1880s sale. So I pulled out my bottle. This 1910s.
That's the old stuff. You know, there's the stuff that's a bit older than that again that you're selling at the auction. Joe Hyman, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Now, Joe is with Skinner's Auction House over in Boston, and they're auctioning off what's suspected, I have to say suspected, you'll fill us in a bit better than this, Joe, of being the oldest sealed bottle of whiskey in existence. I'm right there, aren't I, Joe?
Well, partly right.
Okay.
It's the oldest whiskey. The bottle itself is from around the 1860s.
Yeah.
Based on whatever evidence we've been able to uncover, the company Evans and Ragland, who bottled it, was only in existence after the Civil War, which ended in 1865.
Yeah.
So, based on the manufacture of the glass in that time period, we pretty much put the bottle in the 1840 to 1860s. So
Okay.
They didn't really exist before the war, so it would have to be probably between 1865 and 1870.
For the bottle.
Right, for the bottle itself. The whiskey inside it apparently comes from much earlier. And that was the boast of one of the people that gifted it along the lines some 70 plus years ago, that it was from the Morgan collection, and it had predated the Civil War. So, it's a fine story in and of itself, but
it is.
How do you prove
J.P. Morgan?
Like
J.P. Morgan, the multimillionaire billionaire guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently we found evidence. He showed up in there was a famous collection in Baltimore, and he showed up somewhere around the turn of the century. They were apparently old money going back to like the 1700s even, which is when this house was built, like in the 1780s or something. And so they were old money, and by the time he comes along, he's new money, and they basically blew their fortune, and he bought all their whiskey, and the only thing that was left was a few empties of this. According to an article that we found in the Baltimore Sun, back 1976.
Yeah.
So we confirmed the Morgan connection. We tried to get the Morgan Library to find some more information about it, but their records were horrible, really. It was just wine, whiskey, scotch, rum, Madeira, but no details about anything. Occasionally, there's a notation that we bought a collection from somebody or something like that. But there's very few details in their records.
Yeah.
So we can't get anything there. I mean, we're trying to get something that the house itself is in the National Historic Site. We're trying to get some of the archival information to try to ascertain, like when it was bottled, if they have any kind of notations or receipts or anything, tags, any kind of information about it. But this is what we got. It was bottled in the 1860s and purportedly pre Civil War whiskey, and so it's a fun story. And,
absolutely.
As we are following it, it does. Each step we confirm some of these stories that the family is telling about, because they've had the bottle for 60-something years themselves.
Now, it's been carbon dated.
Yeah, I said, there's going to be a lot of people that just think it's hogwash.
Yeah.
So if I can carefully take out a sample and send it for testing, will you let me do it? And he said, sure. I mean, he had no reason to believe that it wasn't real himself. And he's the third generation of this family that's been the caretaker of it.
You go. It's a very long, strange, evocative, complicated story, and there's much more than that. Whiskey's available in this auction as well, Marty.
Well, there is, but the story, we did a bit more of an extended interview, so we'll try and put that up later on in the week, probably as a podcast. There's lots of really good whiskies for sale and some real crackers, but I just want to check that old Ingledew whiskey. The upper estimate for it was $40,000, and it's currently sitting at $35,000.
So it's going to make it, because there's 5 days still to go, or something like that, is there?
Yeah, 4 days. Yep. 4 days still to go. It's a fabulous story, but the whiskey dated 1800, pre-1800. It's been carbon dated, and around that it was rebottled, and he explains all that in a bit more detail later on. But no, it's certainly an auction to watch. It's an interesting one, definitely.
It is indeed. And now it's time for
our live guest.
Yes, our live guest. Remember to comment, like, and share, and join us on YouTube and Facebook as well. Here he is himself.
David, how are you, sir? Nope. Hello.
Loud and clear. Internet's a bit jittery tonight, David, so do bear with us. If you do drop out, log back in again. Yeah.
Okay, how is everyone?
I'm fine. I've had a touch of flavoured whiskey, which is all right. So how are you?
Yeah, no, all good. We just opened our bar last week at the distillery, so great to have some people back on site again after a very long, what feels like a lifetime actually, of not having anyone there. So it's great just to have people back. So no, all good. Can't complain.
Good. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, David Boyd Crawford is the one of, because his wife Fiona's the Lord and the Lady of Gin, if you go by the thing. And they live down in the Rademon estate, in County Down. And they've been making award-winning gin now for how long have you been at that now, David?
7 years.
7 years. But he's got a whiskey pretty much ready to come out. Yeah. It's almost ready to come. Now, tell us a bit about how the gin came about, how you and Fiona got the gin up and running, and then we'll get on to the whiskey after that.
Well, I'm going to excuse myself for anyone that's done our tour, so I'm going to sound like I'm giving our tour again. But the idea for the distillery last lay solely with my wife Fiona. When her parents bought Rademon Estate, it must be well over 20 years ago. Fiona had been reading a book, I think it's Townsend's book on the lost distilleries in Ireland. And she said to her dad at the time, wouldn't it be great to build a distillery here? We've got all this heritage. It would be great to bring something back that was sort of lost as part of our industrial heritage. And unfortunately, her dad said, look, let's just be realistic here. There's more money to be made elsewhere. Let's get back to work. And that idea sort of sat up until we got married back in the summer of 2011. And we actually come from very, very different backgrounds. I'm an engineer. I worked in the defense industry, building missiles and lasers and all sorts of wonderful things. Fiona worked in property as an estates manager, but we love food and drink. And I suppose that shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone that has really grown up in Northern Ireland over the last sort of 20 years, because we've got such a great food and drink scene.
We do.
And, in an ideal world, we would have had a vineyard, but hey, it's County Down, it's not Bordeaux. We don't get the glorious sunshine for the vine. And at the time, I would spend a lot of time away from home, and Fiona and I always wanted to have our own business. So Fiona said, well, look, what about a gin distillery? We love gin, we'll make a distillery. And rather naively, I sort of said, okay, we'll have a look at it. And it just snowballed from there. We pretty much traveled everywhere from Seattle in the Northwest Pacific, the Seoul and Korea, learning about the drinks industry. And really, when we were in the US, because what people don't realize, we talk about craft distilling in Europe and UK, Ireland. It's not until you go to the US that you see what craft is. And it's that first time you walk into a bar and you see there's no Diageo, Pernod, Bacardi, Brown-Forman products, and it's all local.
Yeah.
That's when you realize that craft is a success. And particularly when we were in Seattle, because Seattle's sort of like the breadbasket of the US. They've got the vines, they've got the cereals, they've got so much of their food is actually produced in the state and comes from the state.
Yeah.
We just fell in love with this idea of creating our own gin. And really, from a Northern Irish perspective, there was no gin distilled in Northern Ireland up until we produced Short Cross. So we just thought this was a great idea to actually create Northern Ireland's first gin, and also to redefine what an Irish gin could or should be. Because up until then, the only gin produced on the island was a compounded gin produced down in Cork. So we just felt that there was something really unique that we could do. So after 2 years of research, we placed the order for our first still back in February of 2013. It arrived this summer. We spent the summer building the distillery, developing our recipe, and putting it all together. And very, very quickly, we got to March of 2014. And just before we launched, we are actually back in Seattle at the American Distilling Institute. It's our annual conference. Now, the American Distilling Institute, or ADI, is sort of like the craft body in the US.
Right, okay.
And to put it into context, back in 2012, there was 400 craft distilleries in the US. I think now there's over 2,100. But the ADI sort of represents or sort of pulls a lot of those guys together. And we were visiting distilleries that were much, much bigger than us, but also a lot smaller. And when I say small, I mean like literally a 20-liter soup cooker with a bit of plumber's pipe. Things that we just wouldn't get away with over here. The States you can. And it sort of hit note with us, because we sort of realized too that we were going to build a business out of the distillery. We were going to have to do things other than just doing gin. And we believe you should always do what you love. I love whiskey. I love malt whiskey in particular. So we thought, what do we need to be able to make whiskey? We've got the beautiful copper still to get us started. What do we need to be able to do? And the very simple answer was we needed to be able to make beer, because in essence, whiskey is nothing more than distilled beer, less the hops. So that first year as we launched Short Cross Gin, we were designing, building, and installing our brewing plant. So pretty much come just over, what was it? About 14 months after we launched our gin, back in June then of 2015, we began brewing in and distilling our first single malt Irish whiskey. And that's kind of where it started. Now, we set out to do our whiskey. One of the things that we haven't really spoken about up until relatively recently was we didn't just want to produce malt whiskey. We pretty much wanted to produce double distilled, peated single malt whiskey, and because I like smoky whiskey.
Good man.
And so for a long time, we have actually kept that under our hats that we were actually the first distillery, probably I think until at least '97, if not before that, to produce peated malt in the north. So it's one of the things that we've kept in the wraps that we're really, really excited about, and hopefully people are going to see a little bit of over the next little bit.
People are excited. People are saying, John Dunn saying, notice your tasting pack for Belfast Whiskey Week. 6 samples. Are the samples all whiskey?
Well, John, I'm not going to give that away just yet, but the majority of it will be whiskey. Don't worry.
Now, I've talked to David once before about this, and he's very adamant that it's double distilled to give it a nice body, nice thick viscosy. I'm seeing, and obviously I have no insider information on this because you've kept that very close to your chest. I'm seeing a very sort of Islay-esque, definitely something totally different from any other Irish whiskey. Am I right?
Yeah, I suppose for us, when we decided to go down the road of producing whiskey, there was no point us trying to commit to that we were going to run a triple distillation regime and balancing the fates and everything else that goes with that. So for us, double distilling was a choice from what we could achieve from a practical point of view, but also we recognise as well that one of the things that I like whiskies with body and weight, and you tend to get that more from a double distilled spirit than from a triple distilled spirit. Now, it's not saying that you can't, so if you take a look at Bushnell's Acacia malt, while it's a triple distilled spirit at a higher ABV for those guys, it's a much bigger body. But for us, we're very much pragmatists. We knew what we wanted to do, and if we were going to do peat, it just made no sense to actually distill the hell out of it a third time and remove the phenols when actually we want all those phenols and oils as part of the spirit. Yeah. That's pretty much why we went down the double distilling route.
Yeah, so you want to keep it a sort of traditional, big, punchy, stand up and let it be counted peated malt.
Yeah. So when we are producing peated malt, we've pretty much produced it at what we call full strength. So we've a mash bill of about 55 ppm going into the still. So we're probably seeing between 25 and 30 ppm in the final spirit. So yeah, it's proper smoky.
It's proper smoky. Now, you've been busy quietly doing your thing, but I mean, this is when it's being launched. It's being launched this year. You've hinted at this before.
Yeah. No, our first release is going to come this year, definitely. So Belfast Whiskey Week this year with Paul Kane and the guys, this is going to be the first real opening up of what we've been doing here. So for us, peat is part of what we do. It's not all of what we do, but it's a very special part. But we've been doing a lot of other things as well. So we're producing double distilled pot still as well. So we're going to be looking forward to sharing a little bit of that over the next little bit with everyone.
Brilliant. Now, you've said that you've been allowing visitors back on site again. I'm sure that must be a huge relief for you to actually get back to showcasing what you're doing down there.
Yeah, at the minute, we've just opened our bar. We only opened last week. So really, we're just trying to get ourselves back on the map again. And I suppose it's that long, it's been months since we had people on site. So we're just getting used to having people about again. We can't go back straight away to what we were doing. So at the minute, it's just breaking in nice and gently. But hopefully sometime towards the end of the summer, we'll be able to open up properly for tours again as well.
Now, we've been asked a very good question. Do you use peat from Ireland or Islay?
It's both, and you're going to have to wait and see where we use both.
Okay.
I think people might not just appreciate just how little peat actually is needed to flavour a huge amount of stuff. I know I heard someone talking about Islay and the peat industry, and Islay has enough peat that if they just used away at the levels it is, I mean, it could last 100,000 years or something. It's they use a fraction of it. Now, The difference between the styles of peat. What are you noticing on the different styles of peat?
So this week we've actually just ran our first batches of Irish peat, and it's different. It's sweeter. It's the first bit. So we've actually just done the brewing process, so it'll be next week when we actually distill that. It'll be the end of next week. But it's definitely a sweeter peat. But I'm only scratching the surface of what the whole aspect of peat and the regionality of it. We're lucky at the minute in that we're seeing two very distinct regions. One's from the east coast of Scotland, and one's from down the east coast of Ireland. So they're very, very geographically dispersed. But yeah, no, we're looking forward to seeing what actually is going to come across in the spirit next week.
Brilliant. Now, the County Down is really establishing itself as the whiskey. I mean, the whiskey powerhouse in Ireland. I mean, it's just they're popping up all over the place in County Down. And
I mean, Hinch is a competitor now. They're just up the road.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, the island is in a rebirth of the whole industry, and for us in County Down, I suppose it's the first county in Ireland where there's probably a real chance of creating a tourism trail. And I actually think that is so important for actually building the industry in a sustainable manner. It's not about how many thousands of LPA everyone's producing. It's not about how pretty or not pretty the site is. It's all about trying to create that indigenous industry and sort of giving it a foothold to actually come back and contribute something positively to the local economy going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. The fact that there's a sense that everybody's in competition with each other, and on a level you are, but it's not like that. I mean, the industry's not really like that. Everybody appreciates that everybody sort of helps each other out by actually just being there, and the fact that County Down has all of these distilleries is beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, look, the competition isn't locally, and the opportunity isn't local. The opportunity is global, and that's a global opportunity for everyone. And sometimes we're just too guilty of being too parochial about these things. I just think it's good I don't think it's good for the whole of the island. I think it's particularly good for Northern Ireland, because the one thing that we do locally really, really well is food and drink. It doesn't matter if it's whiskey, it doesn't matter if it's beer, cider. You just have to look at the restaurant scene that we had before COVID and what we're going to have afterwards. We just do food and drink at a phenomenal level. I just think it's something that we can really bring to the world and really sell. And I think that's what makes Northern Ireland really, really unique.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've very much put down our local produce, be it, I mean, from down my direction, the shorthorn beef over in the castle to the breads that Anne's Pantry down in Larne is just, it's just the best sort of bread in the world. And and we do put down that we sort of overlook just how good our produce actually is.
Yeah, sometimes we're just too modest about it. It's just maybe the quiet confidence thing that we have up here, but there's we don't shout enough about how good our food and drink is, and I think you started to see that changing pre-COVID, and I think when we get back to normal, whatever normal's going to be, I think you'll really start to see Northern Ireland sort of shine a light again on how good our food and drink is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think there's so much potential for we have so much potential for everything, because we're just an amazing place. It really is. For all our faults, we are an amazing place. He's laughing, but I'm deadly serious.
No, I'm laughing because we get really good questions from the viewers and listeners. Keith McCann says, it's amazing that you guys have been sitting so patiently. How do you contain yourself with the weight? Because other people obviously have to bring out bottles with other people's product in it, really. But you've been waiting all this time. How did you manage to do that?
I think, for us, we wanted to learn our trade before we came out. So, for us, it would be easy to have went off and got some liquid from elsewhere and done something with it and put it out. But what would we really have known about what we were doing? like I served an apprenticeship, so we're great believers in learning your trade. And once you've learned your trade, there's a lot more things you can do, a lot more interesting things you can learn because you know what you're doing. And this is to us, we didn't want to damage our brand by just taking a chance on something. So for us, it's always about carefully curating what we actually have been doing. And there's been a lot of people that have been a lot more vocal than us, spoke a lot more about what they're doing. But we know what we've done.
Yep.
We believe in what we've done, and we're looking forward to really sharing that with people, and hopefully that's going to come across in what we've been working on.
No, I mean the short cross gin. Just so everybody knows, I mean all the botanicals come from the estate, or the vast majority of them.
Yeah, like for all of our releases, and I hate using this word because we're talking about whiskey, but with our gin, we have real terroir because it really is about taking as many botanicals from around the estate as we can.
Yep.
And that's the estate itself is always our home has been our inspiration, and that's really what we want to showcase. And looking further, with our whiskey, we do have plans to grow our own barley as well on the estate, and want to see that come through as well. So for us, terroir is part of what we do, particularly with our white spirits, and hopefully in time that'll become part of what we do as well for whiskey.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't been down the estate, the distillery is absolutely stunning. I mean, it's a beautiful place. Even the drive down is very nice. But the estate itself, it's a state-of-the-art place. It was used for Game of Thrones. I mean, the estate, there was a Game of Thrones was shot in it. So anybody who's a Game of Thrones fan, you might want to make your way down there and have a drink while you're down.
Winter is coming.
Justin, we've only just passed the longest day, and you're talking about give us a chance. Let's get summer by first, But no, now you've talked about you're doing pot still. You're doing double distilled pot still. Give us an insight into that. What way is your pot still? What way do you prefer your pot stills?
Well, pot still kind of started out for us as a little bit of a vanity project for me because we're designed as a malt whiskey distillery, so bright clear works, super long fermentations, single isothermal mash tun, single temperature mashing process. So we had to figure out a way of actually making pot still work for us, and we're actually really, really lucky that through the Whiskey Association we were able to get some guidance from Dave Quinn at Irish Distillers to develop our process around the plant. Now that still meant that we had to be quite display quite a bit of ingenuity to actually take a way of actually being able to go through a step mashing process. But our pot still whiskey is really good. We're getting really good extract, we're really getting good flavors all the way through. And for us, the double distilled aspect just means that those sort of really thick, oily, rich characteristics that we all love about pot still whiskey are even more accentuated in our distillate. So we're really, really pleased with what we have laid down. My frustration is we don't have enough of it. But then as a small distillery, that's always going to be the case. You're never going to have enough of everything. But that's also part of the fun. That's what makes us unique. We're not going to be Bushmills or Middleton in my lifetime. But what we're focused on is not quantity, it's on quality. I'm just trying to create what we love and hopefully bringing that to the world so other people can see that.
So you're not going to need the 75,000 litre stills from Middleton that they're going to get rid of, no?
No, definitely not.
Listen, we've had a couple of great questions in here. We've been asked by Peter Gilbraith, what's your favourite part of the process at the distillery?
I just think there's no one particular element, but I just think that whole process of taking the grains, mashing them in, brewing, fermentation, and actually seeing the impact on the final distillate. We just love all aspects of the process. We've been, I suppose, with the patience of a saint in the sense that we've actually drawn very little cask samples over the last
wow.
5, almost 6 years. We've been happy just to let things take their time. And it's now that we know that we've got mature spirit of the various distillate streams, being able to go in now and actually see those and reference it back to the new make, because obviously we have a catalogue of all of the new make spirits that's within the cast. That's when it starts to get interesting to see actually how it has shifted and changed and turned over time. So for us, we just love what we do. There's no particular favorite part. We just love what we do, and we're passionate about that. And that's what we love doing. That's our favorite element. It's just that whole creation of it.
And Tony Sillett has asked, how many Coopers do you have down there at Short Cross?
We're probably about 0.1, because between myself and the guys, we do a little bit of Cooperage work. It's something we would love to, collectively as a team, we would love to do a lot more of. But thankfully, we've got we buy from very, very good cooperages. So thankfully, bar the tightening of the odd hooper too, we don't have to do too much coopering work.
Yeah. I can see Fiona out with a hammer, hammering around the stadiums.
Are the tours on again? Would love to get a wee trip down. Says
we're hoping
Graham.
to have our tours back on later in the summer. So if you just watch our social media, we'll be able to give everyone a little bit of an update on that in due time.
Yeah, and Mark Kerr, he lives not far from you. He might want to park the camper van there, so say no. He says if Carlsberg made jobs, they'd probably made your job. Yeah.
So you're probably right. Actually, I think we love what we do. It's not always easy. It's not always to stand up and gin and tonics on the terrace or drinking whiskey late at night with your friends.
But it is sometimes.
Occasionally it is, yeah. But we love what we do because this is a fun industry, and having went through what we've all went through for the last 16, 17 months of COVID, and seen the impact on our business, impact on our personal, we're just focused on just enjoying what we want to do, because this is a fun business. We love what we do, and we've got to get back to the most important thing, which is enjoying it.
Yeah. Now, the thing about it, I always see you do interviews, but I don't. Fiona doesn't pop up too often to do the publicity stuff, the PR stuff.
No, well, I'm the dedicated show pony, as I refer to myself. Hopefully not just a one-trick pony for these things, but no, look, I'm pretty much the face that everyone knows, but the real brains of the operation is Fiona. Under no illusions with that. This is her baby. This is her idea. This is her passion. I'm just the one that everyone gets wheeled out for everyone to see. But it's very much a team. It's very much a team game for us. I bring certain attributes, and Fiona brings other attributes, and that's how it works for us.
And it's been working very well certainly for the last few years with the gin. I mean, it's everywhere. It's all over the place, and I mean that's a testament to how good it is, and also a testament to how good you are actually getting it to these places, because that's a major challenge for everybody.
The gin is we do gin because we love gin. We're not doing gin to pay for whiskey. It's a lot of some of the really awful journalism that's been out there for the last sort of 5 or 6 years to say we do gin because we love it, and hopefully that is reflected in the quality of the products that we produce. And in one sense, if we hadn't done what we did with Short Cross, there's a fair chance that there wouldn't have been the sort of the gin boom in Northern Ireland that we see now. So it's been great to help being part of the catalyst and actually making that happen.
Yeah,
I'm just showcasing that in this part of the world we just produce fantastic spirits. It doesn't matter if it's gin, whiskey, or other products. We're just very good at distilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Now tell me this: where did the name Short Cross come from? Where did that come from?
So the name Short Cross comes from our local village, Crossgar, which in Irish means the short cross. We're proud to have our village name on each and every bottle of our product.
A form of terroir in and of itself, really.
Yeah. For us, we were never going to try and recreate an old brand, because that's not us. And if you look at our distillery, it's not an old style distillery.
No.
It's a new brand. So we want to create a brand identity that reflects us. And hopefully the Short Cross brand is sort of really showcases that. So as you can see from our still house, we've not got any of the sort of old padogas or any of these sort of old features. It's clean, it's modern. We've used glass. industrial design to it. Hopefully we reflect that in our brand as well.
Yeah, I mean, your styling of the bottle is fairly plain, but the nice distinctive badge on it. It's not particularly showy, but it's very distinctive.
Mm-hmm. We like to think that we're a little bit understated, and hopefully the quality of the liquid does the talking as opposed to just lots of pretty pictures and stories.
Yeah, you have been very sort of understated. You've always sort of been there in the background doing your thing, and your social media, you keep it all up to date on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But once the whiskey comes, I see there being a massive difference happening down your way. I really do.
Okay, I suppose you put it in perspective. It's the one thing that we're doing every day of every week. What we're going to talk about for 2% of the time, and I suppose once we get that first release out of the way, we're going to be able to tell a little bit more about what we've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we've been asked more questions. There's one of your peers saying understated but strong and confident branding.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
thanks, James.
And Peter Gabrias is asking, any interesting cast finishing?
No. Sorry, Peter, we've been this quiet for so long, you're just going to have to wait for everyone else for the answer to that.
Oh, somebody always gives an exclusive when they come on this show. You're giving nothing away. You're giving nothing away.
He hasn't given anything away for about 6 years. You don't want to do it now. We have to bide our time. No,
Right, make a habit of a lifetime.
Exactly. But no, I love the fact that you've set yourself up. This is what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to double distill. We're wanting it, and and doing what you like. That, and it's nice that you're doing that and not being sort of market led or market driven as such. Because whiskey's a strange thing because you can't really necessarily be market led because you're always 3 years behind.
Well, look, I'll be honest, guys. When we first tried to source peanut malt, when I spoke to Alan Dempsey, who's now the GM of Royal Oak, when he was heading up Minch Malt, and I asked him for peanut malt, he laughed at me. He says, "No one in Ireland won't want peanut malt." He says, "You're nuts." Well, who's nuts now? Given that we've an absolute shortage of peanut malt.
Listen, there's a reason lots of peanut malts. There's a lot of. Put it like this: there's a reason a lot of people drink Lefroy. A lot of people drink Ardbeg. Lots and lots of people like it. Lots of people don't like it. You can't please everybody. But the fact that you set out your stall and followed your nose is a testament to how well things appear to be coming out.
Yeah, well, look, I fell in love with peanut malt at a tasting at Belfast International Airport, and it was actually a tasting of the original Connemara Turf Moor. And
oh yes,
which for those of anyone has any bottles, drink it, enjoy it, and enjoy it. The current version is never as good. I will never be as good. But just that intensity of the sweet, the smokiness just blew my mind. That I love barbecue food and Korean style food and stuff. So for me, it was just a perfect marriage. So that's how we got into. I got into peanut malt, and it's one of the things that we wanted to create here.
Now, whenever you say I get into peanut malt, am I thinking Fiona took a little bit of convincing on this?
Oh no, she took no convincing. No, to be fair, she'd be on the same page as me.
Right, I may be trying to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to, but just the way he said it. But no, I remember. I think it was the first time I tasted the Turf Moor many months ago. I had stopped smoking about 3 years maybe before that, 4 years maybe, something like that. Anyway, and it was the first time I'd actually tasted something that was like. I remember whenever I enjoyed cigarettes, it was that lovely sweet smoky taste, and it was lovely. It was really, really good. And once you sort of get a taste for peanut and smoky peanut, it's in a category in and of itself.
Yeah, there's no going back. Once you get bit by that bug, people have talked about people being addicted to sherry whiskey and everything else, but once you get into the peanut malt or peanut whiskies in general, there's no going back. Nothing ever tastes the same. You're always looking for it.
Well, it's like this. I tried the Lefroy sherry cask finish one, and I know there's certain people raved about it, but I just thought it was awful because it was trying to wear two different hats. It was trying to be sweet and smoke. Just to me, it didn't work. I know loads of people will probably dispute me on that, but for me, a sherry cask finish Lefroy really didn't work.
No, I think if it was our bag, it'd be a different kettle of fish. But I suppose it's just there's sort of the two extremes. Our bag is that sweet smoke, the frog is that TCP, heavier oily element. I'm probably with you on that one, Marty.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all, and I know I read other people's reviews on it, and they thought it was brilliant. Nah, it wasn't doing it for me. As you say, if it had been one of the other smokier ones, it might have worked okay, but it certainly didn't work for me. Now, apart from your pot still, single malt, and bourbon cask finishes? Bourbon cask finishes?
In there, yeah.
In there. And yeah. Justin, we're trying to get something out of him here.
I know. Peach flavor.
Definitely no peach, don't worry.
All right. Rancid Parma Violet. Violet flavor. I like Parma Violet.
No, it's like the Freud PX was like a rancid Parma Violet. It was just awful. I thought it was terrible, but other people seem to like it, but that's up to them. Now, I'm going to ask you about your branding. Is the branding on the whiskey going to be similar? It's short cross whiskey, okay?
Yeah, it's going to be short cross whiskey. We are working our way through that at the minute. I can't give you an honest answer because we haven't finished that work. But that's true because we literally we've had to do a respin on the whole process. So we're working our way through that, but it's slowly starting to come together. So it is. So, we're happy with where we're going.
Now, you'll not move too far away from the short cross gin branding, surely to go.
Oh, you'll have to wait and see.
You see this, Justin? It's become a whole thing for me. Can't go away. But
we've waited this long, so we're gonna what's a few months when you've waited 6 years?
Absolutely. I think for anybody in the know, what you're going to be bringing to the game, bringing to Irish whiskey is going to be something that anybody in the know's really been anticipating, really been eager to find out, because there's been nothing leaked out. You've mentioned double distilled and smoke. That's pretty much all you've ever released to anybody. Yeah. So you come on these and So how long do we have to wait?
Look, we'll hopefully do our first release around September time. For us, we want to wait until we have something that we're happy to showcase. There's so much talk done in the drinks industry, and sometimes, and even locally, sometimes people are just trying to. We tend to do too much talking, not enough doing. But we're just happy just doing a lot of doing, and we'll talk when it's time to talk.
Yeah, I've talked to you a few times, and you've always been as good and helpful about loads of different stuff.
He's not going to give anything away. Like we're getting the cask strength peat whiskey to the market, but he's not going to give anything away.
No, Justin, that's a good question, because if something's right at cask strength, we'll do it. But not every whiskey is going to be right at cask strength. I know a lot of people love cask strength whiskey, but trust me, when we've drawn samples in the still house, not every whiskey is right at cask strength. It's all about making the liquid sing, and sometimes it's at a higher strength, and sometimes it's at a lower strength, and it'll just have it'll just depend on what the whiskey actually is, and even down to the individual cask.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Shane says you'd be a good poker player, keeps his card close to his chest.
Now, you're going to be bringing out the stuff at your sampling coming out Belfast Whiskey Week. So anybody who's interested, get onto the Belfast Whiskey Week and get the box, because you're going to be getting something probably a little bit special that's never been seen before. Correct?
Yes. No one outside of, I think, of half a dozen people have tried our mature spirit. So yeah, the Belfast Whiskey Week is going to be a little bit of I'm loath to say watershed, but it's going to be the first probably real sneak peek of what we've been doing here at Rademon.
Yeah, and there's loads of stuff happening Belfast Whiskey Week. We've been talking to Paul numerous times. We were up with him last week, had him on the show, and what he's pulled off's remarkable, isn't it?
Like Belfast Whiskey Week is phenomenal, and it's just to actually think, even just to have the idea, take a concept, in the third year to build it out to what over is it at 100 or over 100 tastings? It's just phenomenal. But also to build that whole online, that whole community aspect of the festival, I just think it's phenomenal. So, it's often the question, and as Paul and I were discussing last week, it's proper adult entertainment, in Northern Ireland, it's something that, that's not just going to the pub and having a few drinks, that whole festival aspect is going to be really, really good. So I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Well, I think year one setting it up, same as everything else, takes a day or two to get the legs of anything, find your feet. So year one, fair enough. And then it just got hit by COVID. And actually, in some ways, because of how it panned out, they managed to flip it totally from being live, everybody heading to bar, to turning it into this phenomenon, really, and turning it into what it's going to be this year. And I think what he's done is absolutely remarkable. Not just him, there's lots of other people I know, but what he's done has been phenomenal and remarkable.
I think there's, what's been really interesting is, and I look how we launched is, when we all came out of the recession at the start of the 2010, 2011, there's a whole community aspect about wanting to see Northern Ireland put its foot in the market and their foot in the world and placing the world in the right place. Yeah. And you strip back, and it doesn't matter if it's food or drink or whatever. People here are so proud of where we come from and what we do. And I think that community aspect is just so important for everything going forward, and really showcasing actually as a region what we do. And I think Belfast Whiskey Week is just a perfect window for that particular segment of what we do, which is Irish whiskey, and that's just phenomenal. Now, I know there's other brands and other countries of whiskey that are there, but just that whole concept of the festival, I just think is phenomenal.
Yeah, I absolutely couldn't agree more. I think what you guys have been doing on the quiet, and still on the quiet, even though we've brought you on the show, you're still on the quiet. What you've been doing and what you're going to be bringing out brings a totally new thing to the table of Irish whiskey, world whiskey, whatever way you want to put it. And I thank you very much for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure talking to you, David. It always is. I
really look for the opportunity, Marty and Justin. I think we just want to do. We're doing what we want to do because it's what we believe in, and we look forward to sharing that with everyone. Now, I know I've been a little bit cryptic, and I know that sometimes frustrating for everyone, but hopefully the juice will be worth the squeeze, so as the song goes. So we look forward to sharing that with everyone.
Listen, thanks for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, as I say. And I'm really looking forward to September, October time I'll get a taste of it over Belfast Whiskey Week, but I'm looking forward to seeing the full product finally coming onto the shelf, because I know I've been questioning you about this now for years, but sure.
Well, absolute badge still haven't got you in the door yet.
Still haven't got me sorted yet. But I will. I'll be there. I'll get it sometime.
No, don't worry. Whenever we talk, there'll be a lot more talk. Whenever the time comes, there'll be a lot more talking. So
thank you, David. Thank you very much for joining us. A pleasure as always. And I was going to wish you all the success in the world, but you don't need my help for that, because all the hard work's already been done, mate.
No, right. We wouldn't have got, and this is genuine from Fiona and I, is if it hadn't been the support of people locally, it would have been a lot more difficult, and people shouldn't underestimate the importance of supporting local and the impact that has. So that, all I can say is, thanks to everyone that's supported us up tonight, and I'm saying we look forward to sharing what we've been doing, look forward to seeing everyone back to the distillery for tours, cocktails, tastings, getting back to normal, and hey, it's Saturday night, so launch it, guys.
Launch it, thank you, and all the best. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Cheers,
All right.
cheers, Marty. Cheers, Justin.
Cheerio. Now, there you go, Marty. What about that for a show?
Wait, I tell you, will be one of the. I just have every confidence in what they're doing. He's a lovely fella, really, really good guy. I was wanting an answer to a question about a thing one time. Picked up the phone, rang him, gave me all the details that I needed. Just a super, super guy, really, really good.
There you go.
Now I've opened up my cast strength silky.
Right.
Now, just on the nose there, I'll just have to put a bit of water in that at 64.3.
Patrick Mulcahy's saying Belfast Whiskey, he got introduced to the dark sulky last year, and he's looking forward to get introduced to another one this year.
Well, put it like this, get the box for Short Cross, because you're going to be tasting history. You know, you can only launch a product once, and this will be the first time that Short Cross will be releasing their whiskey. There's maybe only, I don't know, you heard David saying there's only a handful of people who have tasted this. Everybody has an opportunity to taste it. Get the box, go on and pack it up, and yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, Michael Matthews saying, "Lucky duck, your dog sulky. He is the duck. He is the duck god. Remember?"
Now, dark sulky. It's just that's a super whiskey too, and it's that touch of peat in it. You know, people like peat, and David's doing it. James is doing it. Other people will be following on. Irish whiskey will not be known as triple distilled, very light spirit for long.
What about this? Coca-Cola peated. Would that work? No, they actually do it. They do it as a mixer for whiskey. Honestly, they do. Coke do 3 mixers now, and one of them is smoky. Honestly, smoky pie.
It's not right. I have to listen to this off camera. I have to listen to this all the time. By the way, this sort of stuff. Oh, dear
but
Lord.
I tried it. It's lovely.
It's not peat smoked.
I tried it with the Japanese stuff. It was delicious.
Oh,
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Wonderfully crafted Japanese. Thousands of years of craft. You stack the Coke in it.
I know. It's only made with moldy rice. It's made with moldy rice. What do you expect? Boy.
Nuts. You're a strange man.
I know.
So I met William McLennan today, by the way. Cheers, William. Thank you for coming.
William was late in today. He's joined the camper van brigade as well, I believe. Where is it? I can't find it. There's that many messages. I can't find it. There it is, sir. It is, sir. Good evening. Yes, a wee bit late. Yes, it's the camper van breakdown.
You've done this part of the world today, so we're going to have a wee quick conversation with him.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. Listen, thanks very much for tuning in. We'll get the podcast up during the week. I'll get another couple of whiskey reviews.
And make sure you comment, like, and share. Follow us on LinkedIn as well, and on Instagram as well. And tell all your friends. And if you like whiskey, Irish Whiskey Review is the place to be. There you go.
Come and have a bit of a laugh and a joke.
Yeah, I will do. All right.